So, friends, welcome to you all in this session. We are coming to very close to the concluding day. And today's session is important in the way that it will be taken by Dr. Deepali Pradhan on the topic linguistic and language development. So, you are witnessing Deepali Pradhan from the very close since many days. You might have seen she is a wonderful communicator, a very dashing teacher, and she is teaching in Bharati Vidya Bhavan Vidyashram, Munshi Marg, Jaipur, and working at HOD. As far as teaching is concerned, she has a vast experience of 27 years as PGT, and besides working at HOD, she is also the coordinator, chief editor of the school magazine, and doing many such activities. She has received number of awards, including one from Ministry of Human Resources Development, Avantika International Shikshak Samman in 2004, Global Teachers Award in 2020, and also she is awarded by Pink City Press Club for social work and teaching the needy. So this is what she has given about her. But besides this, you might have seen that she is a very simple human being, a wonderful teacher, brilliant communicator, and a very good collaborator. रूबी रॉय दास, आप थोड़ा इसको म्यूट कर लीजिए. रूबी रॉय दास, thank you. So let us begin with the session of Mrs. Deepali Pradhan.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. I hope I would reach up to your expectations.
Please, ma'am, please.
Yes, sir. The topic given to me is linguistics and language development. So before we begin with the topic, I would just like to ask a few questions. First of all, why is this topic included in faculty development program? Like when we talk about linguistics and language development, these are two different words. Now, here, the next thing which I would like to talk about is why do we have this session on linguistics and language development? You can answer my question in the chat box. I mean, before we begin, we should at least know why we are here. Why this session? Like, why are we talking about linguistics and language, which are two different words? So before we proceed further, we should know what is language and what is linguistics. So anybody who wishes to answer, you can even raise your hand, or you just please tell me if you have any idea about what is linguistics. Yes, Divya ma'am. It seems as if you wish to say something. So I think if we don't have any idea about what is language and what does it mean by linguistics, then this session becomes useless. Because first thing that we need to know is what is language and what is linguistics. Only then we can proceed
Ma'am, I
further.
got disconnected.
Ma'am,
Yes,
Uh,
uh,
ma'am.
ma'am, this
Yes,
is Hina Jain from Bharati Vidya Bhavan's Mehta Vidyalaya. Language
yes,
is a medium through which we can communicate our thoughts to the people, through which we can express our feelings and emotions to others. And linguistic is a systematic study of language.
yes, very true. Linguistics is the systematic study of language, a science system of humankind in order to communicate our thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So, when we talk about language, language is not only about sounds, it can also be a sign language. So, and when you talk about linguistics, certainly it is a science of language. So, linguistics doesn't deal with only one language. Linguistics means you're talking about different languages. It can be comparison between different languages. So here, when we are teaching English in India, so English is not the mother tongue. English is a second language for us. You can also call it a foreign language for us, since we don't have native speakers of English. So when we begin with it, you know, as teachers of English, when child comes to us, child already has a language, and that is why it is necessary to know what is language development. How do we learn a language? So here, this is the outline of the presentation. That is, before we proceed further, you should know what is it that we are going to discuss here. Structure of language, overview of language development, theories of language development, detailed description of the key stages of language development, promotion of language development. So, as ma'am, you said, linguistics is the study of language. It helps now. How is it going to help us? That is, when we are all language teachers, how it is going to help us? It is going to help teachers convey the origins of words and languages, their historical and modern day relevance. Now, maybe I know the language, English language, I know, but I don't know the difference between formal and informal usage of language. So, where I'm supposed to be formal and there I become informal. So, I think, or we all can make out where we go wrong. So, it includes the structure and meaning of speech and of written languages, as well as an understanding of the context in which certain words are used. So it is important when it comes to comprehending the differences among conversational speech, formal speech, abstract rules about word usage in different cultures. So it's not only about language, it's also about cultures. This can, you can say that it, at times it overlaps into regional dialects, especially when we talk about our country. A person is speaking Hindi, but the person from which a place the person comes from, you can easily make out the moment the person starts speaking, whether the person is from Punjab, the person is speaking the same language, Hindi, but you can make out the person is from South, the person is from which part of the country. So linguistics can also help guard against self-embarrassment, using words that are common but have historical context that may make them appropriate or that may make them inappropriate in certain contexts. So I think now we should proceed. So first thing that is necessary for us to know is the structure of language. Now, what is the structure of language? As written here on the screen. So I think most of you can read from here and tell me what is the structure of language. Yes, please. I'm not going to be the person who's going to speak for 1 hour. So here something is written here, the information is already there. And while making this presentation, it's not that I know more than you. It's only that I have collected more information and I have compiled it in the form of a presentation. So we all are going to come together to see actually how linguistics helps us and why it is necessary for us to know about language development. So when we talk about structure of language, so language is any form of communication, be it spoken, written, or signed. I think this is what we discussed. Yes. So I want answer from, I think there is somebody who is trying to say. Yes, ma'am, please. Sanghamitra, ma'am. It seems you
Deepali
want to
ma'am,
say something. Yes, ma'am.
phonetics also, knowledge of
Yes.
phonetics.
Yes, ma'am. Certainly. Language is all about sounds. So
Yes.
we need to know about phonetics also. Yes, why
Verbs
not?
and phrases, words, phrases, combination of
Words, phrases. Yes. So here, that is what is written there. Just see on the screen. All human languages, they consist of a system of 5 roots. So first, sound, phonology. Sound in a language, I think we all know whether you talk about consonant sounds, vowel sounds. Then we talk about morphology. What is this morphology? Units that make words. For example, I have got any word you can take, and when you add ed to it, it becomes past tense. When you add ing, dance is a verb. When you add ing to it, dancing. Okay, danced, sang, sung. Different ways. So that is morphology. Then we talk about syntax. Now, if I say a sentence is a combination of words, is this appropriate? Yes, Nidhi Mitra ma'am, could you just tell me if I say syntax is a combination of words, is it going to be the right definition? Nidhi Mitra ma'am, I think you're not there. Jaya ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. A
if I
sentence of,
say,
no,
yes,
ma'am,
yes,
it
please.
must, a sentence is a combination of words, of course, but it has to make sense. It has to be meaningful. A
Yes,
group of words, if it is jumbled, then it doesn't make a complete sense. It has to be meaningful. Then it becomes a proper sentence.
yes,
Am I
that
right,
is,
ma'am?
yes, yes, that is order of words is important.
Yes,
So
yes.
sentence is a group of words which make a
Makes a
complete
complete
sense.
sense. Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
Runa Chakrabarti ma'am, you're absolutely right. Yes, Jaya ma'am, when you said it's not only about combination of words, it should be meaningful.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we move to semantics, meaning of words and sentences. Now, pragmatics, when you talk about pragmatics, using language appropriately in different contexts. Like when I began, I said, formally, how you should behave, informally, what should be the language. That is equally important. So at times, we land up in a very embarrassing situation. If you have to be formal and you become informal, or where you have to be informal and you become very formal. Like if I quote here some examples of Hindi language, if you try to use Hindi language, a spoken Hindi is different from the one, which is formal one. So if you just change where you have to be formal, you become informal, and where you're supposed to be informal, you become formal. So that is what, yes, ma'am. Pragmatic is essential for communication. Certainly. That is what we are here for. And that is why there is need of teachers. Now, the thing which comes to my mind is like, whether you talk about any language in the world, I would first like to ask, can you tell me how do we learn our mother tongue? How do we learn our mother tongue? Or how does a
Ma'am,
child?
by
Yes,
listening.
by
Ma'am, by
listening.
listening.
Yes. First, we listen. identify a word from a speech stream, then gradually start identifying. Okay. So just look at these 4 points which are put up here. Remember what the word sounds like, so they can recognize it again. And then gradually the child tries to link the word. It's not only about learning the mother tongue. This happens when you are learning the second language also. You link the word with some consistent event. Now here, one example is there, when you say doggy, like when you're speaking to a little child. So what comes to the mind of a child? Yes, some creature, furry creature. So that appears, isn't it? So physical training, then later on, the child tries to that physical training, when you talk about physical training of the vocal cords, tongue, lips, to produce the correct sound and say the word in an appropriate context. So this is the way we move on with the language. Now, when I asked you that question, how did we learn our mother tongue? Isn't it? So how do children, the mothers who are attending this workshop, if you just see how your child uttered the first sound or the first word. So you must be having lot many stories to narrate about your child. Is there anybody who could just tell me how your child learned the first word and how it was, what kind of an experience was it for you? Anybody? It is, we all are here, Bhavan's family, so there's nothing wrong even if you share your personal experience. I will also be sharing my experiences. Yes. Anybody, whosoever is willing.
Ma'am, my child babbled rather, ma, 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 pa, 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 because
Yes,
we would make him learn.
You're absolutely right. This is the way we actually learn the language, right? Just sorry, there was somebody there. So here, babies vocalize from birth. During the first year, babies' sounds go through a particular sequence. So it is important for us to know about the structure of language. We all are aware that language consists of words and system of combination. Okay. So now here when we move further, what we find is the babies, they start like here one example is there when baby cries, when the baby starts crying. So the mother can make out why the baby is crying. Is it? That is, I think, the first sound that the baby produces. Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, absolutely.
Deepali ma'am, you are muted. Please unmute.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes. So we are talking about cooing, babbling. So babbling from about 6 months, babies begin to, as ma'am said just now, that those sounds, baba, mama, these sounds children start speaking. And then, yes, you said right, you're right, ma'am, when you said when the child is hungry, so the child's cry is different. And if there is some pain or some problem, the child's I mean the mother can make out, isn't it? So I think that is the first signal. Even that is communication. Is this is the way, the communication happens. Now, we all should know that infants understand many words. Let's move further. So when the child starts pointing it like this, that maybe the child doesn't speak, but yet keeps pointing. Like I talked about that furry creature. So that the moment the child finds a dog there, so would say dog. So starts pointing. So usually begin pointing by 12 months. And no pointing may indicate communication problem. No. There are different issues. We are not going to discuss all those. So infants understand many words before they speak. That is passive or receptive vocabulary. Then first words. I think all mothers, they remember the first words spoken by their children. So I'll just narrate here one incident from my experience. When my I have two daughters. So when the second daughter, when she started speaking something, any like Baba, Mama, this way, when she started with these sounds. So when I used to come back from school, so the person who used to take care of the little one, so she said, today she has started speaking, Didi. Okay. And then my elder daughter, she was so happy that she did not know that this little child cannot speak all of a sudden, Didi. So she was so happy. And she said, okay, she has started calling me. She was calling me. Okay, fine. And then it was just, Baba, Mama, Dada. And the moment she said Dada, Da, Da. So from that time onwards, she started saying Dada. And then it was, very late when she started going to school. She realized, it's not Dada, it is Didi. So, I mean, uh, this is the way children learn their first words. So maybe it is wrong, but then gradually they correct themselves. So here, first words, it's not always, that is active vocabulary. There are certain things, which are there inside. So here, first words, usually familiar people and objects. So as I said, from familiar people and objects. So first word began with the, because she was very fond of the elder one. And that is why age for first words, it varies from 9 to 24 months, average 13 months. So it depends. We all should know that infants understand many words before they actually start speaking. So somewhere around 2 years of age, children being to rapidly learn new words, and that is called vocabulary spurt. Excuse me. Now, here I'll just quote one example. We should not always say that yes, by this age, generally it happens. We have a child in the family who is 4 years old now, but cannot speak words clearly. It's not that there is some problem with the vocal cords or anything. It's only because in some families, the children, those who live in a joint family, they have lot many people speaking the language. Or if the mother is very talkative, if mother keeps speaking to the child. So when the mother keeps speaking to the child, what happens? There's lot of listening. As you said in the beginning, we learn the language by listening. So when there is lot of listening, then what happens is, when you listen more, yes, you're registering it. And then finally, the child makes an attempt to speak. So somewhere around 2 years of age, children being to rapidly learn new words, and that is called vocabulary spurt. Now, feature of this stage is under and overextension of word meanings, telegraphic speech. Now, it's not always that you begin with sentences. Now, what is this telegraphic speech? Can anybody just give me one or two examples of telegraphic speech? Give examples from your experience. You can give examples of what you have seen. I mean, maybe your children or your nephew, your niece, you know, or the neighbor's child.
कंटिन्यू करो, कंप्लीट करो या कुछ और काम करो या तो खेती करो कराओ। तो ये था, तो वहाँ एक जो है एक लड़ाई लड़नी पड़ी मुझे उनके साथ, तो उसमें मेरा हाथ
Yes, to refer to a cat, the person can say mew. Yes, right. It's the moment the mew has come, meow has come, meow. So that means cat has come. And then gradually the child knows and learns how to pronounce cat. I very much agree with you. Now I'm talking about telegraphic speech. What is this telegraphic speech? Anybody who can? Madhulika ma'am. Pompa ma'am. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I'm having a network issue. I can tell you, I can answer, but can I put
Okay.
my video?
No, it's okay, ma'am. It's okay. You
Okay.
just answer.
So
No
it
problem.
is when the child is saying two letters, two words, not two letters, sorry, two word stage language, not a
Yes,
full
ma'am.
sentence. It can be like mama ice cream.
Mama ice cream. Yes.
Not
Right.
saying full. Or mama cat. Not saying the full sentence properly, but it is of a two-word stage of this thing.
Yes, that is telegraphic speech. Like come
Ma'am,
soon.
it may also mean
Yes.
the child is using only a few keywords to convey the message,
Yes,
not
that's true.
completing the sentence.
So it's not the sentence which comes. I mean, but the message is conveyed. Communication is happening, isn't it? So we begin with the communication. First words, then maybe the combination of words, but not complete sentences, isn't it? That is the way we learn the language. So like here, I said juice finished, milk gone. Okay, instead of saying that I have finished the milk, it's milk gone. So that is the way child conveys. And this is the way we have learned the language, isn't it? So by age 3, most children can pronounce all the phonemes of their native language. Now here in this presentation, I have also included certain things, which the people have come to a conclusion after a lot of research. So when we look into the research, yes, it is said by the age of 3, most children can pronounce all the phonemes of their native language. And when a child comes to us in school, and when English is a second language or a foreign language, so the child already has some sounds. Okay, so begin to understand morphology rules. That is, we discussed it earlier also. Adding ed that makes it past tense. So now here, the experimenter read out a series of cards. Children were asked to make plurals. So while making plural, we add s, isn't it? So from a very young age, the children, they know how to, because they have heard the language. And so they gradually start using it. So children understand syntax. Maybe they are not able to use it. Like just now we took that example of milk finish or milk gone. Okay, mama come. Okay, or just simply jana. Okay, so children understand syntax, the word order, and then this happens by the child reaches the age 4. The last syntax rule generally learned is the position of the word. Is in a question. Say, where, instead of saying where is mummy going, where mummy going, or where mummy is going. So when you talk about syntax, maybe it is wrong. Now here I'll just try to point out one thing. When we speak our mother tongue, it's not that we started speaking it correctly. Even when we speak it today, we make so many errors speaking our mother tongue, but nobody points us out. But when you're teaching English, if the child goes wrong anywhere, or if we go wrong anywhere, there are 10 people pointing at us saying, it's here there is a grammatical error, here this is wrong, here that is wrong. Why so? And that is the reason, when we teach English as a second language, this is the problem which we face, that children, they don't, speak the language. They have that hesitation, that hitch, that if I speak, I might go wrong. So try to explain this thing to your children, that when you speak Hindi, you speak not only Hindi, whatever is your mother tongue, it's not that you are absolutely grammatically correct. You make mistakes there also. So we should always, make an effort. So, these are different ways, where we can make children, we can motivate them to use the language. So in terms of semantics, children learn approximately. Now this is all based on research. Okay, so approximately 14,000 words by age 6. So when you talk about vocabulary, it reaches this big number. Okay, or 1 for every hour they are awake. Now, here there is some information. Early literacy. Now, given that approximately, now, as I told you, I have collected some information from different research that has been, different researchers, the research that they have done. So given that approximately 10% of all Irish children have literacy problems, with the figure standing at over 30% in areas designated disadvantaged. It is vital to understand how children's literacy skills develop or fail to develop. That is, this happens with us also. We find some children, they catch the language very quickly. Some children don't. But do we make an effort to see, like, what is the problem behind that? Literacy skills start with the development of language skills. It is vital that parents talk to their children about what their child is interested in. That is, as I said, some parents, they speak to their child. Some, they they speak less. So one study, the next study by Harris, found that the mothers of children with language delay tended to speak less often to them. And when they did speak, they often didn't relate what they said to what the child was doing at the time. So I think this is what is a message for all the parents here, that when you have a small baby at home, okay, speak as much, because if when you will speak, only then the child would learn. So before learning to read, children begin describing, drawing. At times, there are many children who don't speak. They start drawing. Now, here I'll give you one example. The child made a square kind of a thing and says, this is chocolate. Okay. And then a picture. I'm talking about a 3-year-old child, or maybe 2.5, okay, who cannot write words, but could draw the picture of a toffee or a chocolate. And so that is to say that, see, this is, the alphabets are not there, but communicated with the help of a drawing. So this is called, now when you look at this is called symbolic representation, and is vital in the process of learning to read, as the child must understand the concept that symbols can have meaning. And I think this is the reason in kindergarten classes, when the teacher asks the child to write apple, A for apple, so they draw it over there. So that symbol, the concept, that symbol can have meaning. Generally, there are 2 approaches to teaching children to read: the phonic approach and the whole language approach. Now, have you heard of these 2 statements, phonic approach and whole language approach? Just now we were talking about, first we come with sounds and then the words and then we make sentences. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Smita, ma'am.
workshop start
Uh,
Okay.
Smita ma'am, if you're speaking, please speak. Otherwise, mute yourself. Yes, anybody who can just tell me about phonic approach and whole language approach. Phonic approach says words first, then sentences. But whole language approach says that we keep listening to sentences and then gradually we come up with those sentences. So the phonic approach emphasizes the breaking down of words into their component parts and learning to translate letter symbols into sounds. It is only after the child has mastered this that they progress into reading stories and poems. Now, if you're reading out a story, okay, or if you're telling a story to your child, so it's not that you're teaching the words, this is to be pronounced like this means that. No, you're just telling stories, trying to communicate. And when you talk about the whole language approach, as recommended by psychologists such as John Holt, who believe that the phonic approach destroys the child's love of reading and takes away their natural ability to puzzle things of out for themselves, just as they did while learning to speak. Here, when we are talking about English as a second language, so it's not that we begin with alphabets, then we go to words and we say, here is the noun, verb, and then this is the way you are going to make a sentence. No. So simultaneously we should go with these things like reading. Okay. Maybe the child cannot read, but you are reading a story for the child. Okay. Now, when you look into it, the question arises which is better, or which approach? There are so many approaches. So which approach is the best? So some studies show that the whole language approach works best for children who are exposed to books at home. Now, when you talk about the environment from which the child comes, okay, if the parents are literate, or if the child comes from a non-literate family, okay, I would not say illiterate, but not literate family. Children who have little exposure to books at home may get little practice outside school and may require the more direct phonic approach. So I think this is what we all agree. In your school also, you must be having many children who have been given admission because of Right to Education Act. So when you look into the background, because I have seen my teacher saying, this child is RT and so is not able to do properly, is unable to catch the language, is not doing very well. Now, what is the reason for that actually? Why it so happens? Why we face such problems? Yes, can anybody just narrate it? It's all in front of you. You just have to discuss.
Ma'am, the child doesn't have that kind of exposure in his surroundings.
Yes. So exposure is not there, so the child is struggling, isn't it? Is the child struggling or not? Even when the child is not reading, if you have books around, the child simply turns the pages of the book. And maybe the child started going to the kindergarten school, okay, maybe nursery, KG, something, learning alphabets in school, and finds that there is an alphabet A, B, whatever. And in the book, the child is not reading, cannot read the words, but can just find out that alphabet and tells the mother or the father that my ma'am taught me this. This is A. So it there that I would say there is that sense of achievement that yes, the child could make out. See, उसको आज A पढ़ाया है, उसको आता है, उसको पता है यहाँ पे A लिखा है, and the parents are so happy. So the reading has started. It is only because of the environment the child comes from. I hope you agree.
Sorry to interrupt here. Like maybe you are talking about the early years,
Yes,
but but otherwise also, ma'am, it's a bigger challenge if they don't have an exposure is one thing, but if exposure, like the parents are speaking in a wrong manner, then it becomes a bigger challenge for the teachers in order to, make them unlearn and then learn again.
Yes, I agree with you. Uh, because they already have something. When they come to us, to learning is easier. To unlearn and then learn, it's difficult. So this is a challenge for us, and that is why I think we all are here to discuss all these things. So when I'm talking about that initial stage, yes, you're very happy to know that the parent is very happy. Yes, my child can recognize the alphabet. But I'm here talking not only talking about that. I'm talking about gradually that reading habit develops. So when the child comes from a literate family, will gradually love books and would be into reading. But unfortunately, that other child who hasn't got that environment, I'm talking about the environment uh, the child is brought up in. So that environment helps us a lot. So that is what I wanted to convey here. Am I clear, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Anita, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Thank you.
Now, this reading recovery. Now, what does it mean by reading recovery? Because damage is, as you said, damage is already done. Because it is not, the child's wish that, yes, I should have been born in this family or that family. But when the child is coming to school, as teachers, how can we help the child? What is our role as teachers? Is it not necessary that we devise ways to help such children? And if there is a need to devise ways to help these children, what are those ways? How can we help them? We cannot always be complaining. ये बच्चा तो कर नहीं सकता, है ना? इसके पेरेंट्स घर पे सिखाते हैं. Okay, then what are we there for? We are there for teaching the language. It's a greater challenge for us. But then, how can we solve this problem? That is what is my question. Yes, Reema, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sonia,
Namaste,
so
ma'am.
this side.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Please.
Okay, Reema, ma'am, you are saying something. You can continue.
Okay, ma'am, I'll speak. Ma'am, we can ask them to repeat like certain way. We want them to pronounce certain words, so we can ask them to repeat.
Yes, we can ask them to repeat. Special attention to be given.
Special
to them.
attention, yes, ma'am. And
Yes.
motivation also, ma'am. In front of the class, we can ask other children to clap for them.
Yes, that can be done. Some sort of reinforcement.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
think we all have learned the language because of reinforcement only, isn't it? Like I gave you that example of da, didi and all that.
Hanji,
What is
hanji.
that?
Yes,
That is
ma'am.
reinforcement only. So
Yes.
even these children need, yes, if we syllable the words, it will help in improving their pronunciation. Yes, ma'am. Very true.
Ma'am, Sonia, so this side.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Namaste to all. Ma'am, in our school, there is a project Dear Time. So, Dear Time is drop everything and read. So, it is, the time when everybody has to do reading. So, most of the time, our children have their, pleasure reading books or some other textbooks. So, they keep on reading. And if they have any kind of problem during that reading time, so they come to us and they ask us. So, that is, one way of encouraging their reading habits.
Yes, ma'am, very true. This is, I think, what I'm so sorry. There is power cut in my area, so you will not be able to see me. It's okay. But here, when we are talking about, like here, there was in the chat box, Ruma ma'am said that we should stop criticizing them. Instead, we should start helping them, and then we should make an effort. We should make an effort to see that, like as you said, drop everything, start reading. We should devise different ways to help these children. I think that is the way we can uh, you can say that we need to give them individual attention. That is going to help them. Now, children's writing begins to emerge between the age of 2 and 3 when they begin to draw and scribble. All these things which I'm talking here, everybody knows about it. But then how do we teach them alphabets? It's not that drawing a particular alphabet like this and this is the way we do it. No, it's not that. By age 4, yes, we can say that the child begins to write. But how did they begin to write? How do they begin to write? It is maybe drawing just simply lines, standing lines, sleeping lines. When there is one standing line and two sleeping lines like this, that makes it I. Or when there are two standing lines and one sleeping line in between, that makes it H. I think this is the way we are taught to write, isn't it? Yes or no? So how we gradually move on, reading, writing, first listening, speaking, then reading, writing takes practice, and children who are given frequent opportunities, they generally progress much more quickly. Now, when we talk about bilingualism, especially when we look into our country, we have so many languages spoken. We have people live in areas where it's not only people don't speak just two languages, mother tongue and English. No, they know other languages also. If I talk about Rajasthan, so one is Hindi, one is English, and another one is Rajasthani, which is spoken. Okay, same if you talk about Bengal, Bengali, Assami. When you go to South, yes, there are so many languages we have. So it's not only you talking about one language or two language. We have languages here. So generally speaking, if a second language is learned before the age of 10 or 12, then the speaker will be more likely to achieve native-like pronunciation. All this, whatever I'm talking, it's all based on research. And we are trying to relate it to our surroundings. I mean, our own experiences, what we see. So there are many advantages to being bilingual. Now, research says that if you're bilingual, studies show that being able to speak more than one language has a positive effect on attention, concept formation, and reasoning. Now, we'll look into the theories of language development. There are two words, nature and nurture. Okay. One group says it is nature. Nature has given us, we speak because nature has gifted us with the speech. But another group says, no, it is nurture. As with every other aspect of child development and debate about whether language development occurs as a result of nature or nurture is to the forefront. That is what we will discuss now. You all must have heard of Chomsky, a linguist, who proposed that human beings are pre-wired to the complex grammatical structure of language. He believed that children are born with what he called a language acquisition device that enables them to detect rules and features of language, such as morphology and syntax. So already, from God has sent us, made us like that. So that is why we learn language. This is what was his opinion. He believed that children's, language, this acquisition begins to weaken with age, particularly between the ages of 10 and 12. And that native-like fluency after that age is not possible, is virtually not possible. One of Chomsky's key observations in support of this was that what he called virtuous error. Children seem to work out all on their own and very early on basic rules of grammar. I think this is what we discussed earlier also, that children, when they make plurals, they know how to add S or ES, or if they are going to make the past tense, they would add ED or continuous ING. Then they apply these rules even when they are not appropriate. When they are not appropriate, yes, they apply those rules. And then gradually they understand where they are wrong. So Chomsky argues that environment could not be a factor here because children do not hear adults saying, the feats. They don't, they haven't heard, but how come they are using it? Now here, there is one story, how it proves to be, Chomsky's theory wrong or right. I think you must have heard of it also. This is not the real name, Ginny. She was a child who spent nearly all of the first 13 years of her life locked inside a bedroom. Okay. Now, she was a victim of one of the most severe cases of social isolation in history. Then later on, it was found that even with extensive therapy, this girl never could fully master language. So, supporting Chomsky's theory of language acquisition. Now, we move to the next set of linguists who are behaviorists, who talk about nurturing. Okay, it is not nature, they say we nurture. So they believe that, Skinner believed that all learning, including language learning, occurs as a result of reinforcement. Okay, which we have already discussed. The moment the child utters something, yes, we are all very happy and all smiles and hugs and, that reinforcement, good girl, good child, oh my God, something, very creative has happened, and we need to be very happy about it. Okay, so that reinforcement, and then the child, in absence of elders, would try to utter that sound again and again, and then finally masters it. So the interactionist, just a second. I hope the screen is visible now.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So one of the most important aspects of a young child's linguistic environment is child-directed speech or motherese. At times, we try to speak the way the child speaks, okay, to motivate the child. Other strategies that adults use to support children's speech are recasting. The adult tidies up what the child has said in a grammatically correct way. If the child says, "Mammy, go home," the adult may say yes. That is, you repeat it. Mummy is going to home now. Okay. So when we repeat it, that is recasting, expanding it then later on. The adult encourages the child to expand on what they have said. I think this is what can be used in it is imitation. Yes, the child tries to imitate us. Ice cream, yum, yum. Okay. And then you add to it. Okay, what color? Favorite? No. Tasty. Okay, sweet. So this is the way, we with just one thing, we come up with so many things: color, taste, one, two, numbers, talking about numbers. So this is what is necessary, and this is what we can also pay attention to. That is when we are teaching English as a second language too. Children constantly learn the names of things by pointing and asking. And it requires a lot of patience, because child is full of curiosity, very inquisitive, string of questions, one after the other. And at times you feel like saying, okay, stop it now. But if you say stop it, the child would stop asking. And then, then it would be difficult to teach. And same thing happens with us also in our classes. Some children are very talkative. They are very curious also. Yes, Mona Lisa, ma'am. Something, it seems you want to say something. Okay. The American psychologist Jerome Bruner stresses the importance of the child's environment in language development. He believes that the adults and more able peers in a child's life provide what he calls a language acquisition support system. So language acquisition support system is very important. And that is what we need to build in our classrooms. Children not only learn from their teacher, they learn from the environment. So especially when you talk about primary classes, motivate your children to use the language. Certainly, when you talk about mother tongue usage, mother tongue children are more comfortable with. They are more comfortable. They would end up speaking in their mother tongue. They would end up speaking in the language which is mostly spoken. But how much time do they get to speak, or for how long do they speak English language? They speak very less. So try to create an environment in the class where children get an opportunity to speak to each other. So language acquisition support system is very important, and we as teachers need to create that. Okay, so use plenty of child directed speech with babies and toddlers. Turn take, allow infants time to answer when you're talking to them. When talking to babies and young toddlers, talk to them about what it is their attention is focused on at that particular point of time. Then next week, move on to pictures. I mean, how can you improve the language? We show pictures to them, isn't it? Can we do that? I think this is what we do. This is the way we teach children language. Here I'll narrate one incident about my child. You know, birds fly. We all know birds fly. Yes. So the lady who used to take care of my child, I gave her some picture books. So during the day, she used to show her the pictures of aeroplane, helicopter, this way. And then another page where there were pictures of birds. So she taught her बड़ी चिड़िया, छोटी चिड़िया, और ये बड़ी चील गाड़ी, ये छोटी चील गाड़ी. So when I on a holiday, when I was just looking at, I told her this is aeroplane, this is helicopter, and my daughter said no, this is badi cheel gadi, it's a choti cheel gadi. And I thought, from where has she learned it? Because I have never used it. And it did not occur to me that it was that lady she was teaching her. Okay. I mean, no formal education, but whatever knowledge she had, that way she was just trying to teach the child. So I'm just talking here about the way children learn. Picture book can teach lot many things. Rhymes, action songs with younger children. Listen to young children and give them time to say what it is they are trying to say. Generally, what happens if the child is speaking something, we end up saying, no, 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 now you stop. Okay? And we don't give an opportunity to the child to speak. So here, these are just different ways. Yesterday, Deepali Madan ma'am, she came up with lot many games which can be used in our classrooms. So those games are really helpful. Give children plenty of opportunity to practice. Give children plenty of opportunity to speak, to listen. We don't have native speakers. So give them opportunities to listen. I mean, they should get an opportunity to listen to people who are, very good at pronunciation. So they would practice writing. Allow them write, I mean, short things, maybe 2 lines, a sentence. I mean, that is going to help all of them. Now, I think this is not the end of it. Now, I would like to ask you certain questions. How are you going to help your children improve their language and motivate them to use language more and more? I think it is necessary that we provide them opportunities for using language. So what can we do? How can we create language enrichment environments? Not just by giving them opportunities to speak, listen, read, write. What are other ways which can be used? I think we all know language cannot be taught. Language is always taught. So we need to create environment. We need to encourage them to converse in the language. Isn't it? Now, in case your child speaks something wrong, how will you correct the child? If the child speaks wrong English, how will you correct it? English or any other language? Yes, now it's your time to speak.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Ma'am, one thing I remember when my daughter was quite young, at that time, she said, Mama, chakkar aa rahi hai. I was in Maharashtra at that time, and Hindi, there are some issues over there. So I said, no, beta, chakkar aa raha hai. तो ही said, मम्मा चक्कर आ रही है. I said, बेटा चक्कर आ रहा है. कहते मम्मा वो छोड़ो, मुझे चक्कर आ रहा है. So that is one just like to be on a lighter side. But then as language teachers, I have noticed that all the language teachers are more into correcting the language rather than going into the basic intricacies of
Yes,
what
ma'am.
the other person is trying to say. Now coming as a teacher, when I have to correct my student, I take up the thing, like I highlight the thing in a very subtle way. I bring the like I tell the child to repeat it, and when the child repeats it in a wrong manner, then I correct the portion or the part of the sentence which is said in a wrong manner, but correcting it. And then I tell the give certain situation to the child where the child can speak the same sentence again in the correct manner. So this is how I try to encourage the child. And also the new vocabulary words, we are the children are grasping new vocabulary words. So we in the school only, all the teachers, we try to encourage the children by telling them to use them on daily basis in their daily communication. So that is one thing, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
you are absolutely right, ma'am. That a mother tongue intervention, it also affects if the child hasn't got the gender difference in the language. He, she, it's not there in the mother tongue. So such children will also have problem in formation of sentences. So that is also we need to take care of. And another thing which I have noticed is we don't look into what is the problem actually. Instead, we come up saying that it is happening this way. And even if you talk about, when children, grown-up children, 11th and 12th standard children, at times when they are talking about mother, his mother, okay, then that his mother becomes, they instead of using his mother, becomes her mother, okay, because mother is, female. So we
feminine,
are
true.
feminine. So here we are going to write her mother. So such things keep happening with children. So as educators, our task is twofold: to ignite a passion for language in our students and to equip them with the tools. They need to explore it. And that is why we had this session. Uh, I, I, I didn't come up with anything new. All that we all know, and that is what we need to take to our classes, and that is what we need to find out why children are making this particular error, and create environment in the classroom and looking into the problems of the ones who are not actually doing well. And we also need to take care of the thing that how are we going to correct our children? That is, if they go wrong somewhere, what is the better way of correcting them? It's not that we should not snub them, or we should not point out the error in such a manner that the child stops using the language. And this is the major problem, the main, the reason why children stop using the language. Please motivate them to speak the language. Once they start speaking, they will listen, speak, read, and finally write. So remember, Language learning is an organic process. It thrives on patience, practice, and perseverance. And when you talk about teachers, these three words, practice, patience, and perseverance, that make a teacher. So thank you so much. I had some videos also for you. Some of those Deepali Madan ma'am had already discussed. I thought in case we have time, I'll show them to you. But as we don't have time, so we'll move on to yes, national new education policy promotes multilingualism. Yes, ma'am, certainly yes, and that is why we need to know the background of our children, and only then we can be good language teachers. Just complaining ये बच्चा करता नहीं है या this child doesn't know the language, just can't write a single sentence properly, or I mean this is not the way we'll come up to a proper solution. Thank you so much. And in case you have any questions, anything to ask, and those games and the videos I'll share with you later on. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Anyone wants to ask anything? So, Deepali, I'd like to add one thing. Can I add? Hello, Deepali, can I add?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The moment any child is admitted to your school, he may be a general child, he may be an RTE child, any child, when he is coming to your school. So remember that now he is your student. And it is your duty to make him familiar with the surrounding, to make him confident, to be like other students. And I know our teachers are doing this thing. And after some gap, it is very difficult to identify that these children are from RTE or these children are from the general group. So this is one thing that majority of the teachers used to complain that, sir, this child is of RTE and he is not picking up. So ultimately, if the child is not picking up, it is the fault of the teachers. And it is actually the teachers used to make certain strategies so that these children can be in the mainstream of your school or bhavans. So thank you very much. You have presented in a very nice way. And although I'm traveling this time, but I have enjoyed your session on the phone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We